He arrived in Britain with $20 in his pocket, a fake name, and a borrowed suit. 40 years later, he owned 400 companies, shook hands with presidents, and commanded the world's media. Then one night in 1991, he vanished off his super yacht into the Atlantic Ocean. No struggle, no scream, no witness. And what investigators found after he disappeared was more disturbing than the disappearance itself. This is Robert Maxwell. June 1923. A tiny Jewish village in Czechoslovakia, so poor it didn't appear on maps. A boy was born into a family of 9. Dirt floor, no electricity. His name was Jan Hoch. By 16, the Nazis had arrived. His parents, sisters, grandparents, almost everyone, murdered in Auschwitz. Jan walked out of Eastern Europe alone. $20, the clothes on his back, and rage. He joined the resistance, then the British Army. He fought at Normandy and earned the Military Cross, pinned on his chest by Field Marshal Montgomery himself. When the war ended, other soldiers went home to families. Maxwell had no family left, so he buried the boy named Jan Hoch, gave himself a new name, Robert Maxwell, and went to work. Post-war Germany, 1945. Maxwell was assigned to distribute scientific journals, a job most men would treat as temporary. He noticed something no one else had. German science had been cut off from the world for 6 years. Universities everywhere were desperate for the research. The information existed. The distribution didn't. That gap, that's the business. He tracked down a crumbling Berlin publisher and brokered an exclusive deal. He was 22 years old. Within a decade, Pergamon Press was one of the most profitable scientific publishers on earth. By 30, he was a millionaire and a member of parliament. But the real conquest hadn't started yet. Maxwell walked into the offices of the Daily Mirror, one of Britain's most iconic newspapers, and bought it. He called a meeting with the entire staff. "I am your publisher. You will produce the newspaper. I will not interfere with editorial content." He paused. "Unless I do." By the late 1980s, he owned the Daily Mirror, Macmillan Publishers, the New York Daily News, and over 400 companies across 40 countries. He hosted world leaders on his super yacht. He negotiated personally with Gorbachev, Arafat, and Perez. He wasn't just a publisher, he was operating like a shadow diplomat. The boy from the dirt floor village now controlled a media empire worth $3 billion. The 1980s lending boom had made Maxwell reckless. He borrowed constantly. He used shares in one company as collateral to borrow money to buy another. A tower of debt balanced on one assumption: that the empire would grow forever. It didn't. By 1990, his debt load was catastrophic, over £2 billion. His bankers were nervous, his own sons were nervous, but Maxwell performed calm like an Olympic sport. He appeared on television looking confident. He threw parties on the yacht. He bellowed at journalists who questioned his finances. Lies. Absolute lies. My business has never been stronger. Behind the scenes, he was doing something unforgivable. He was raiding the pension funds of his own employees. Over £460 million, the retirement savings of 32,000 ordinary workers, quietly transferred into his private accounts. He was using their futures to plug his debts, and almost no one knew. October 31st, 1991. Halloween. The Lady Ghislaine was anchored off the Canary Islands. Maxwell had been on a business call late into the night. At some point before dawn, he stepped out onto the deck. No one saw what happened next. When the crew woke, he was gone. The Spanish Navy found his body floating in the Atlantic hours later. No witnesses, no note, no explanation. Was it suicide? A man who knew the walls were closing in? Was it murder? He had enemies across 3 continents? Or did the ocean simply take him? We don't know. Within days, his empire collapsed. Bankers called in loans, auditors arrived, and buried inside the accounts, they found the whole. 460 million pounds, gone. Stolen from 32,000 people who would never get it back. The British government launched emergency proceedings. His sons were arrested and tried. And 32,000 workers discovered that the retirement they had spent their careers saving for had been stolen to keep one man's empire alive for a few more months. Maxwell was given a hero's funeral in Israel. World leaders attended. Back in Britain, his workers received a fraction of what they were owed. The man who built everything from nothing, who survived the Nazis, who shook hands with presidents, died before anyone could hold him accountable. And somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, the truth sank with him. Some men spend their lives building a legacy. Robert Maxwell spent his building an exit.